Look at these prices. They're so high. Yeah, I don't think we'll be able to make it if these rise up further. Nah, trust. Germany has lived through worse conditions. Or let's say, survived. Kinda. What do you mean by that? Well, you see, back in 1923, there was this thing called hyperinflation. Hyperinflation? What even is inflation? Inflation is just that the amount of money doesn't correlate to the amount of products the country has. For an example, we can say that when we have 10 euros in a state and 5 apples to buy, the value of the apples is 2 euros. But now if we have 20 euros, the price of the apples also doubles. Or we double the amount of apples with 10 euros and now the apples are half the price. And hyperinflation is just inflation on steroids. And how did that happen? There are several reasons for that happening, but first, let's go back to 1918 when the First World War ended. Chaos took over Germany after the loss. The Kaiser retreated and the German citizens wanted change. Thus, the Weimar Republic was established, which at that point was one of the most progressive states in the world. More people were able to vote and a sort of democracy was established. Why sort of? Well, as we can see, the constitution wasn't perfect because of a little someone taking over Germany and bringing terror over many humans. That is another story though. The war cost the Germans not only a ton of money, but later on also the Ruhr Valley, which was crucial for their profit by coal. But what does that have to do with the inflation right now? Just wait, I'm getting to it, alright? The lesson we get is probably the most important thing we can learn about handling government debts. Just bear with me. So we are now in 1919, when the Treaty of Versailles was signed. Germany now has to pay immense amounts of war reparations, take all the blame for the war, and also decrease their military power. Now who would have guessed it? Germany after the war is poor and hungry. You'd think that it gets better after the war, and that's also what the Germans thought, but reality is that the food problems have not improved since the war until 1923. This was obviously upsetting for the citizens. Expectations were not met, and this meant even more uprisal. The citizens lost their trust for the government. In simple terms, Germany's broke and people are starving? Yeah, you could say it like that. This setting we have now, with all the unsatisfied, starving citizens, a poor country, and debt, is a starting point for all the suffering and greater scheme of inflation. Both the left and right wing had something to complain about the government. The left was accusing the social democratic government of betraying the workers' ideals, and the right wing just wanted a monarchy again. This led to many conflicts and rebellions that threatened the stability of the republic, such as the Freikorps, who fought against the communists and later staged a coup. The prices are already high at this point and was not a long way to hyperinflation. Ultimately, in 1923, Germany could not afford the war reparation payments anymore. France became impatient and took control of the Ruhr Valley, which was, as earlier mentioned, important for the coal and a big part of the profits Germany made. The workers in the Ruhr Valley were told that they should strike while still getting their full pay. There are theories stating that to pay these workers, Germany started this hyperinflation. Yeah, okay, so we know that the citizens are in a critical state now, but you still didn't explain how this hyperinflation started. Hyperinflation was mainly because of Germany panicking. They knew they couldn't afford all of these payments. They didn't have enough money. Now, how do you get more money if you are the one that gives out money? Exactly, you print more money. This is where the downfall of the currency started. Going back to our example with the apples, we are now increasing the total amount of money, which means our prices for the apples are also increasing. The dimensions here are much greater than our example. Let me show you this graph. This is, as you can see, the graph of the value of paper marks to get 1 gold mark. We use a gold mark here because that's what's actually the money. Paper marks are just a replacement a bank gives you in change for gold because it's easier to carry. The graph shows a great incline in 1923, but don't be fooled. Look at our y-axis. It grows by the factor of 10, so you have to keep in mind that the step from 1 to 10 is 10 times between 10 to 100, and so on. Just to put this into perspective to how worthless this money became, we have banknotes in the range of billions. Money is used as wallpaper or kites. People basically stopped believing in the money. Shops went back to trading goods because it was just better than the money. With the inflation, there's also some winners. For example, people that got a loan in 1920 could easily pay it off by 1923. The hyperinflation crisis stopped when a new currency called Rentenmark was introduced in November 1923. It was backed by land and industrial assets instead of gold. It stabilized prices and brought some order back to the economy. But the damage done by hyperinflation was not easily forgotten. It left deep scars on the German people and helped the rise of extremism and violence that would lead to another world war later. In November, this effect of extremism was already seen as the beer hall coup was planned and executed by Hitler. He used the state of Germany to get more followers in his ideology, and although the coup failed, it was only possible to arrange this because of all these unsatisfied Germans. As you can see, the causes of the hyperinflation cannot be concentrated on one single reason. The war brought up many challenges in politics and economics, which Germany was not able to handle. But now we can learn from this. We know that recklessly printing more money will not change things for better. As hard as it may sound, money isn't something everyone should have of the same amount, because if everyone has the same amount of money, then this money loses its value. Modern hyperinflations, like in Zimbabwe and Venezuela, had the same problem with printing more money. These countries have been doing better, but they still are in hyperinflation these days. But if we look at Germany again 100 years later, we might think that the history repeats itself. Our prices are also increasing. But rest assured, Germany wouldn't do the same mistake 2 times in a row. Or would it?